Welcome back. Is the trans movement medicalising homosexuality? Is it a form of homophobia? Are confused gay kids being encouraged to undergo irreversible treatments that they will regret? My next guest fears that could have happened to him. Ben Appel thinks he could have easily been pushed into reassignment surgery because he was a closeted gay kid with internalised homophobia and a fondness for dressing up as a woman. But he's not trans, he's just a boy called Ben. Ben wrote a superb column in Spiked Online, Homophobia in Drag, which quickly trended online and caused quite a stir, being shared by the likes of Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. Ben Appel joins me now. Ben, your column is so honest, so raw and important because we are seeing an enormous surge in these irreversible treatments that can leave young people sterile with a host of other medical complications. Tell me, why do you think you could have fallen victim to this new homophobia, as you call it?
You know, I was a really effeminate kid and I was bullied by my peers, called every, homophobic slur in the book. And my biological sex was questioned, are you a boy or a girl? And I had a really hard time, and I had a lot of internalized homophobia. I had grown up very religious. So that was kind of the worst thing that you could be. And if I had, gone to a teacher or a guidance counselor for help, and, if their response had been, hey, maybe the bullies are right, maybe you do need to be fixed. Yeah. Maybe it's unacceptable for boys to be like you, and there's a medical cure for this. I might have really ran with that because it would have been something that I could fix and that would be outside of my control, and it wasn't something that was wrong with me. It was something that was just a defect, and I'll have the doctors take care of it.
Yeah, it becomes a medical condition and it's a fix for what is a huge problem in your life. So, yeah, maybe the bullies were right. I cannot believe we're in that place now where you've got little boys who might like the colour pink and ballet and aren't particularly masculine, or little girls who are tomboys, and that's not okay anymore. There's something wrong with them. I can tell you, I feel precisely the same way. I'm not gay, but I grew up a tomboy, and I wonder whether that would be acceptable nowadays. And I liked in your column, you mentioned my childhood home of Iran. You said, I learned about current medical practices in Iran where gay sex is illegal and punishable by death, and where medical transition is subsidised by the state to cure gays and lesbians trapped in the wrong bodies. I privately drew parallels between the anti-gay laws and practices of Iran and what I saw developing in the West, but I convinced myself I was just being paranoid. But you weren't being paranoid, Ben. I think you were 100% right. There are parallels there, and if we don't recognise them and talk about them, the situation can only get worse.
Absolutely. Yeah, there were a lot of parallels, and again, like I said, I thought I was being crazy. I thought I was being paranoid, and I kind of kept these thoughts to myself. But then when I started reading the literature and started seeing, just what these practices were like in Iran, and the history of the medicalization of gender nonconforming people there, I just saw these eerie parallels, and I thought there's really something not right here.
Oh, absolutely. And I've actually got into a couple of Twitter spats a couple of years ago with people who brought up Iran as an example of, look at Iran, look, they're more advanced than we are, not realising that homosexuality is not only considered a sin, it's considered a crime. So these people have the option of either going to jail or having gender reassignment surgery if they want to live a certain lifestyle. Now, for voicing your considered opinion, Ben, you have been called a transphobic bigot, which is insane to me. But why is any questioning of this radical ideology met with such hate and hysteria?
It's just a kind of an easy, lazy response. It just shuts down debate. I'm a compassionate person. I'm a sensitive person. No one wants to be accused of being a hateful person. I know and love a lot of trans people, a lot of trans adults, you know, and it just stifles debate. It's an easy argument, especially when the more radical elements of that side, their arguments are not strong. There are so many holes in it. It's like Swiss cheese. And, you know, just under the simplest scrutiny and they just really collapse. It's like a house of cards. So the only really effective response they have is just to respond and say, you're a hateful person. And all of your dissent, all of your concern is motivated by some kind of animus, and it's not that way.
No, not at all. And you write that when you undertook your degree at Columbia University in New York in 2017, you noted that gay activism was already being taken over by trans activism. Why do you think that is? Is that because gay marriage, which was a massive fighting point for that lobby, became a reality, so they needed a new battleground? What do you think the reason is for that change from gay activism, which is about equal rights and something I think the overwhelming majority of people support, to this rather radical trans activism?
Well, you know, I do think it has to do with, like you said, there were initiatives that, you know, things that were won for the gay and lesbian rights movement. And so how do we stay relevant as organizations? How do we continue to attract donors, attract money? You know, what is our next civil rights issue? That's one thing, although that's not all of it. You know, another thing is I went to a really progressive elite university in New York, and that was kind of really the hotbed of all of these ideas about queer theory and how you know, sex is a you know, social construct, not just gender, et cetera. So gender just really consumed sexuality, and it became everything. You know, gender precedes sexuality, and that's what really makes it, you know, especially potent with the kids and adolescents, is because, you know, you don't want to say gay kids or lesbian kids because, you know, you don't really realize that. I didn't really realize that until I had gone through puberty and matured. I was just a really gender nonconforming, you know, girly boy. And so gender comes first. And so that's why it's I think a lot of gay kids are at danger of getting, you know, swept up in this.
Well, absolutely. This ideology is quite backward with its gender conformity. It's got these very, very set gender roles. So if you are a girly boy or a masculine girl, then there's something wrong with you and you need puberty blockers or you need to be transitioned, when that's perfectly okay. I'm so glad you're writing, and your piece was shared by so many prominent people. You must have been chuffed that J.K. Rowling shared it, and her tweet alone of your Spike column had around 8 million views, never mind 800,000, around 8 million views. So you had a massive impact with this. Well done, Ben Appel. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you for having me.